6 p.m. on February 7th, 2023. This meeting of the Hingham Select Board is called to order. This meeting is being offered remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 107 of the Acts of 2022 and all other applicable laws, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the Town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. Is anyone recording? I think we're the only ones here. Okay. Just for the record, participants of the Select Board this evening, myself, Liz Klein, acting as chair, Joe Fisher, Bill Ramsey is on military service and not with us this evening. If you are willing and able, please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Next on the agenda is the approval of minutes. I think we're going to wait till next week to discuss those. Okay. Next on the agenda is to consider the agreement with Consulting Engineering Services, LLC, to provide commissioning agent services for the Public Safety Facility Project. We have Kathy Riley. Yeah. Excellent. Bob Garrity, if you want to come up. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good, good.
So I was on the evaluation committee, commissioning agent, and Bob can back me up a little bit more. It was not certainly in my area of expertise, but I
Learned a lot about it, I bet.
I learned a lot about it. Essentially, as part of the public safety facility, one of the consultants that we hired to ensure that the systems of the building, electrical, HVAC, those sorts of things are being installed according to plan, are in working order once the building is getting ready to be delivered. They test it, they make suggestions to the contractor, and I think ultimately at the end they train people and they write manuals, is that correct, about how to use, how the system works and those kinds of things, how to fix it, how to, those sort of things. So we had 7 vendors who submitted, and we did an RFP. So an RFP is, we evaluate the proposal first and the qualifications and their proposal on how they go about doing it. And the second part is the price. And so we rank them first. And CES, most of them were good as far as, they're qualified and that sort of thing. And then CES had the lowest price.
Okay.
And so we went with CES.
Okay, let me just add a little bit, and everything was accurate. I was not part of the RFP process, but it's my understanding the RFP process worked great. Basically, our Hill International, Paul Callis, the project manager for the town, who we work with daily, was the person that took the lead in putting together the RFP with Kathy's office, and Paul did all the technical aspects of it to determine what exactly are commissioning services and what are they good for. So let me try to summarize in a nutshell, and I'm not an expert on this stuff. I'm not a commissioning agent, but it's become really, really popular on major building projects in particular to hire a commissioning agent. And what the commissioning agent does is they basically oversee, okay, let me just read a quick summary just to show you how broad commissioning can be. This is the definition of equipment commissioning is the process of ensuring that all systems and components of a building are designed, installed, tested, operated, and maintained according to the operational requirements of the owner. So that obviously covers an awful lot of territory. So what, Hill is very familiar with commissioning agents. They're a big fan of of the owner hiring a commissioning agent. In this case, Hill put together the RFP describing exactly what systems and equipment would be commissioned. Namely, the commissioning agent looks at the design plans for that equipment. They'll familiarize themselves, if they're not already familiar with it, just to make sure that it seems like the right systems for this particular project. They will also look at the system. There will be contract language in the construction contract that talks all about working with the commissioning agent and what the commissioning agent does. So once the contract is awarded, the commissioning agent looks at the different proposals that come in, the different equipment proposals that come in during the course of sort of pre-construction, but they're filed by the contractor and their subcontractors. For every piece of equipment and system that's going to be installed here, they have to submit those to the designer, and the commissioning agent will chime in at that level. And then after the equipment is all installed, and this is perhaps the most important point, is they are actively involved in testing the equipment, doing all sorts of equipment that is appropriate for whatever the particular system is, and they end up signing off on it basically as part of the acceptance of the project process, which goes on for months on a project like this. So you really need somebody on the ball. In the request for proposals and in the contract, there are 58 different items of work and systems designated that the commissioning agent will have to commission. So they don't do everything, but they do everything that's important, basically, right from the building envelope, all through the HVAC systems, the telephone systems, the security systems. So basically, it's all specified exactly what areas they will be involved in making sure, number one, the designer does his job, number two, the contractor does their job, and number three, that it works as specified. So in this case, we've always carried in the project budget for the public safety facility a budget of $75,000 for the commissioning agent. And in this case, it's my understanding that the commissioning agent proposal is for $70,470. So it's slightly under what we had budgeted for it.
Great, excellent. It sounds like they're the auditor of the entire building. Okay, good, and I was gonna ask about the budget, so thank you. Could this change in scope, or are you pretty confident that this will take us through the whole life of the project and the whatever kind of final inspections?
This should cover the full length of the project. I guess it's possible that at some point, during 2 years from now, someone might say, well, maybe they should also look at this valve or something like that. But this is a good scope of work. It's very thorough, and it's kind of state-of-the-art as far as project oversight to do something like this.
Okay, great. Well, they have a very impressive proposal and list of clients, and it seems like they're quite experienced with net zero buildings as well. So that was nice to see. Just a question on the term. It says February 3rd, 2022.
Should be 23.
Should it be 23, or have they
Oh,
started?
it should be later than that.
Yes,
even.
definitely
I'll fix
2023.
that.
Okay.
I apologize.
No, that's okay. And then through June 30th, 2025.
Oh, okay. So that's the end date.
That makes sense
Right.
as
That
the
makes
end date, right? Okay.
So we can just, when Tom signs it, he can write the
Okay.
actual date.
Okay, great. All right, I think that's all I had. Joe, do you have any questions?
I think I've just got one question. Who does the commissioning agent report to?
the town. So I guess they would report to my commission, and if any, my committee, and if anything problematic came up, we'd be in touch with Tom, as well as the user agencies, of course.
With the OPM and the
And the
architect.
OPM. So the OPM is the owner's project manager, they're the statutorily designated agent of the owner. That's Hill International, Paul Callis. So basically, the commissioning agent has a contract directly with the town. So Paul will be very heavy in dealing directly with the commissioning agent, but the contract is between the commissioning agent and the town.
So is there, got it, okay, that makes sense. And basically, as I understand it, the commissioning agent, the job is to make sure that the building meets the operational requirements of the project.
Right.
That's sort of a summary of what they do.
Right. You obviously don't want to run into problems in the startup of the project where everybody's pointing the finger at everybody else. And the idea is that this fellow company will hopefully eliminate that type of
Intervene.
problem that can happen very much at the end of a project in early operations.
No, I think it makes sense. I've looked at the contract, and having heard that it is within the budget, I am satisfied to move forward.
Right, and now, my building committee did vote to recommend
Yep.
the approval of the
Yep.
project at our last
Right.
meeting, so.
Okay, great. Great. Any other questions or comments? I don't think anyone's joining us. Anything you want to add, Tom?
No, I'm good. I just note that they had 25, like projects in Massachusetts alone, or 22. You know, there's a lot of experience with this
Yeah.
group, so I'm very comfortable with them.
Okay, excellent. All right, I'm ready to take a motion.
I move to authorize the town administrator to sign the agreement with Consulting Engineering Services LLC to provide commissioning agent services for the Public Safety Facility Project in an amount not to exceed $70,470.
Second, roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Liz? Aye. Motion passes.
Hey, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is 2023 Annual Town Meeting Warrant Article Discussion. First is Article H, the disbursement of electric lighting department receipts.
So this is the annual article that brings an offset of what would have been taxes raised by the Hingham Municipal Light Plant into the town's revenue pie. So it's generally, I believe it's 400, can't be less than $450,000. Very often, it's in the 500,000 range. There's a formula that we work with HMLP to determine the final number, but I would expect a minimum of 450, but probably closer to 500.
Great, and this is, yeah, the pilot.
Yeah, payment in lieu of taxes, that's
Thanks,
right.
right. Okay, Joe, do you have any
I
questions?
got no questions. This is what we've done every year.
That's right.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, we're gonna vote these separately, right?
Yes.
Please.
I will make a motion to recommend favorable action on Article H.
Second, roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Liz? Aye. Motion passes. Okay, the next one is Article P, establishment of a tax mitigation stabilization fund.
Great, thank you. So this is a new concept that we're recommending this year. The town use that the town create so that we can employ in future years to offset the need for future overrides in future years. So the concept is to create a stabilization fund that we can feed any given year. We create it this year, we can seed it perhaps this year, which we may do. That determination will be made as we go through the AdCom process, and they get to the point of writing their recommended motion. Early projections, Michelle and I have talked about, we think we're gonna likely request that we seed the stabilization fund, if everybody's in favor of doing this, to about $1 million of using, about $1 million of fund balance in year one. That doesn't mean that will be the only money that ever gets put into it. There could be a number of, things that could come up during the course of the ensuing years. For instance, the sale of a property or some other unanticipated revenue stream that we could request town meeting designate a portion of or all of those funds into something like the stabilization fund. So it's a new idea. It's intended to help us bridge the gap between, as I said last week in our presentation, the town is not going to be able to go 13 years without overrides anymore. But we should be able to stretch it out as long as possible and help keep the residents' tax rates and tax payments down. So that's what this mitigation fund or stabilization fund is intended to do.
Great, okay. And we can create the fund and then decide later to seed it or not. You can
That's
create it
exactly
with $0 this year if we wanted
That's
to.
right, that's right.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah.
I do like the idea of this. This is a concept that came up during the Sustainable Budget Task Force work, and this is a best practice that some other communities do use to help, as Tom was explaining, kind of mitigate that need for multiple overrides or often frequent overrides. So I am in favor of this. I think it's a good way to help us with the growth rates over the next several years. And certainly, I think, we'll have to think more on it in terms of how much we want to seed it with or not this year and where that money comes from. But I do like the concept. Do you have any questions?
I do, and it's probably for you as well as for Tom. What other communities do have this? Do you know?
Is it Harlem?
Arlington was the one that jumps to mind.
Yeah,
I believe Shrewsbury.
I think the three that we spoke to over the summer, Arlington, Shrewsbury, and Norwood, all had similar stabilization funds. They were technically the override stabilization funds that those communities funded through the override, essentially creating a larger override than was strictly necessary to be able to start these funds. That's why ours isn't called an override stabilization fund, because we're not proposing to fund it in that way, but it was the main tool at least those three communities used to help live through those years.
yes. So that's a concept we haven't used in Hingham before, but some communities do increase the override amount and then put a portion of that into a
So
fund.
they don't need as many overrides.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense. I don't think at this point, Tom, we are making the assessment that the town will need overrides more frequently. It's going to be up to town meeting to make that determination. But given the economics of running a town, we need sources of revenue. And this is, I think, one way. I view this almost as analogous to a sinking fund with respect to a capital project. Is you're putting money aside knowing you're going to use it every year. In this case, it's not a capital project, it's the operating budget, but it's conceptually the same thing. Makes sense. Okay.
Okay. You want to make a motion?
I guess there's no one else to ask comments from?
Oh, any questions or comments?
Seeing none, I move to recommend favorable action on Article P.
Second, roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Liz, aye. Motion passes. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is to declare Saturday, February 11th, 2023 as Lincoln Day in the town of Hingham. We have a proclamation. Do you want to discuss it or just read the proclamation?
Well, I think that, the discussion, we have discussed it every year that I've been on the select board. And Lincoln Day has been such an important part of the historical foundation of this town, and this is continuing that. And so I think we should proceed with the proclamation.
Okay.
Town of Hingham, Massachusetts proclamation. Whereas the town of Hingham was settled in 1635 by a small band of Puritans, many of whom came from Hingham, England, and environs. And whereas among the descendants of those original settlers were two famous American public figures who shared the common family name Lincoln, as well as a common heritage. And whereas it is a long-standing Hingham tradition to honor and celebrate their birthdays, General Benjamin Lincoln, a lifelong Hingham citizen and a hero of the American Revolution, and Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, and the towering figure of the Civil War. And whereas we honor and celebrate the lives and deeds in all their complexity of the two Lincolns because of the incredible legacy of civic engagement and community building they have left for us. And
Whereas in this year, 2023, we pay special honor to 4 centuries of our citizens, those famous like Benjamin Lincoln and Abraham Lincoln, and those unknown to history, who worked in myriad ways to build and sustain this wonderful community of Hingham and the broader communities of state and nation. And whereas the preservation of community is a perpetual task in which each generation must fully participate. Now therefore, we, the Select Board of the Town of Hingham, do hereby officially proclaim Saturday, February 11th, 2023, Lincoln Day. Finally, we urge each citizen to take to heart the examples of the 2 Lincolns and those of 4 centuries of Hingham citizens. And we urge each citizen to participate in some concrete way in the strengthening and preservation of this community of Hingham and the broader communities of state and nation for the generations which will succeed us. Given under our hands and seal of Hingham this 7th day of February 2023. William C. Ramsey, Chair, Elizabeth F. Klein, and Joseph M. Fisher.
I make a motion to proclaim Saturday, February 11th, 2023 as Lincoln Day in the town of Hingham.
Second, roll call vote. Joe?
Aye.
Liz? Aye. Motion passes. Good. All right. Next on the agenda are appointments. I don't think we
Nope.
have any. Okay. Next is public comment. I don't think we have any public. Okay. Town Administrator and Select Board reports. Art, do you want to start?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to provide updates on a couple of outreach-related elements to projects that we're working on. First and foremost, obviously, the FY24 override is front and center. Just want to share with folks that we've not only created a web page for it, but have provided easy, direct access to it through our homepage with a link that's directly below the masthead, if you will. It's a work in progress. We'll be adding information to this over time, but I just wanted to point out that there's a lot here in terms of what's available, what we intend to add, such as an override calculator. There's been a lot of work invested in developing property tax relief options. They're communicated here. Meeting calendars, lots of information materials, meeting presentations, and frequently asked questions. Again, this is something that will be built out over time, and we hope that members of the community with questions or looking to learn more consider this like a go-to resource. The second resource I want to point out relates to our ADA self-evaluation and transition plan. We are into the next phase of that work, and that is having all the draft work completed, which comprises of nearly 500 pages of reports that assess the town's policies and procedures, as well as assesses municipal buildings, school buildings, as well as outdoor spaces for different aspects of ADA compliance under Title II. We've done all that research. Now we're looking for input from the community. We've developed a web page that has all of this information and also offers the opportunity for comment. And just very briefly, our page, which can be reached at hingham-ma.gov/ADA, will bring you right there. We have steps to feedback and links to all the various documents that are in PDF format. There are many. There's no simple way to break it down, but people with different interests can certainly find what's important to them on this page. But just as importantly, we have a means for folks to provide feedback to us directly online by using a evaluation feedback form. Clicking on the link that I just showed brings you to a feedback page where we're looking for feedback on all the different aspects of this massive project. Try to break it down by broad categories to keep it simple, while also giving us a chance to make sense of a lot of disparate feedback. And we'll certainly be using that to help finalize a draft that we'll eventually bring to you. There's certainly a few other steps in the process as we go, but we're certainly excited to take this next step in public.
Excellent, thank you. I'm glad to see the ADA information up on the website, thank you. And just to comment on the override website, thank you for putting that together. I think it is a tremendous wealth of information. And there's also an email address, people can send
That's
questions,
right,
right?
that's right.
And we have received some questions already, and we've added those questions and answers to the FAQ section.
true.
So I certainly encourage people to continue to submit those questions, and most likely other people have the same questions. So we'll add them to that FAQ bank as we go. Michelle?
Nothing for me tonight, thank you.
Okay, Tom?
Nothing for me tonight. Thank you very much.
Joe?
I've been cued. I was at Officer Foss's swearing in, and good showing by the community, not just the police community, but the community in general and his family. It was a moving swearing in, and I think he's going to be an excellent officer. We're proud, and we are looking forward to the 3 additional officers that we interviewed and appointed to have them complete their training so that we can swear them in at a later date. How long does that training take?
Usually about 6 months.
Yes. So again, congratulations to Officer Foss and to the police department, and I've got nothing else.
Excellent, thank you. Yes, congratulations to Officer Foss. I just have a couple things. I met with the team and capital market advisors today to review the Hingham ban bid results. And just a reminder for people, ban are the short-term bonds. These are for Foster School and the public safety facility. The amount was $83 million. We had to go with the lowest cost. The net interest cost was from Jeffries, and it was at a rate of 2.864, which is a little higher than we've seen in the past, but anything under 3%, we thought was a really good sign. Some other things that capital market advisors shared with us today is that they expect long-term rates to go down, which is good. And that they were able to quantify the estimated savings of us, Hingham being a AAA rated community, which is something that we talk about a lot. But in terms of a dollar figure, they estimate the savings to be about $264,000, given our rating versus the next level, which is the AA
That was the savings on the ban.
on the ban.
Yep.
We will review this in more detail at Thursday's meeting, and CMA will be there to answer questions, but that was good news today. Any questions or anything you want to add on that? Okay, great. I just also wanted to include that February is Black History Month, and thank you to the Human Rights Commission, who has created a list of resources, which is up on their website page, so hingham-ma.gov and Human Rights Commission page. And then, of course, Lincoln Day, all are welcome this Saturday. The celebration begins at 10:15 a.m. at the Memorial Bell Tower next to Old Ship Church, and then continues inside the church at 11 a.m.
And then continues in the street, down Main Street,
Yes.
for an interesting procession. And you will, if you attend, you'll see many in outfits that date to the Civil War, not
Yes.
to the Revolutionary War.
Revolutionary War, yes. Excellent, yes, it's a nice celebration in Hingham. All right, I think that's it. Ready to adjourn?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second, roll call vote, Joe?
Aye.
Liz? Aye. Meeting's adjourned.